to another great edition of Mississippi Stories. I'm your host, Marshall Ramsey, editor-at-large and editorial cartoonist right here in Mississippi Today. Hey, thanks for joining us. Got a great guest today. In fact, if you're familiar with previous Mississippi Stories, well, you probably caught our interview with Pamela Junior. Of course, she's the director, the head honcho, the soon-to-be retired Grand Poobah here at the two museums. And Pamela, to be honest with you, you've been in this role since 2019, which was like
2017.
Well, 2017,
yes,
but over both of
yes,
them. Yeah,
exactly.
But
exactly.
that's literally 565 million years ago, because that was before the pandemic.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so good to catch up with you, and congratulations on the impending retirement. I know you could probably break it down into minutes and seconds. And
it's bittersweet though.
I bet
It's very bittersweet for me because I've been doing this for a while and very passionate about the work that I do. And now when the phone won't be ringing for this particular job or me helping somebody, even with a personal issue, because that's just who I am. I'm Mama Pam always. I'm sure they will continue to call me and I'll be saying, why are they calling me?
So I hope that you've got like a 2-month cruise set up or something so that when you retire, you can go and just kind of decompress.
You know, for me, I just want to just watch TV that has nothing to do with history. I was watching something last night that deals with history. Yeah. That's all I do. Everything that I read is historical. Yeah. So I just want to just watch reality TV, do some things, you know, look at animal stories. There's something now on Netflix dealing with Chimps Empire. I want to watch that. So I just want to do nothing.
So you want to do what everybody did initially during the beginning of the pandemic.
Exactly.
You can watch Tiger King and catch up with that. You're in the second season, Jerry Mitchell's in it.
I saw it already, I think. Okay.
I mean, all those years I've worked with Jerry, now he's a legend because he was in Tiger King too.
He is. I have to mention that to him.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. Like I said, I wanted to do this interview, not only to kind of let you talk about some of your favorite moments and some of the things that are going on here at the museum, but also just to catch up with you because, I mean, over the years, I've really grown to respect it. And I think probably the first interaction I had with you, my son had to come down here and interview for a Martin Luther King segment for his high school. And I think he was initially very intimidated by you at first. He's like, oh my gosh, because, you know, he's in high school, but he's like, she's really awesome.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, she is.
Thank you.
You've done a great job.
Thank him.
Oh, no, yeah, you know, he's a good kid. He's like his mama, so he's got hope. But I'm really, like I said, this project, these two museums, if you had asked me back when maybe 2000, if we ever could have pulled this off, I would have been skeptical, you know, because I think there was the only positive Mississippi here mantra that was going on about that time, but also too the fact that to get such a nice building, to get the funding, the funding the way we got it, but also to honestly, openly, and powerfully tell our story the way that you and your staff have done. This is really just a jewel here in Mississippi.
It is. Just to think that Mississippi has these amazing museums and people can come here and learn about resilience. They can learn about integrity and fortitude because a lot of folks that come from other countries, they always ask the question, how did they do it? Yeah. How did they stay in Mississippi? How? But you know, I always say this, is that even with the folks that were fighting for rights, even for the folks that lived here and things they felt were okay for them, hope was always sitting in the corner. Hope. And they had to pull out hope every now and again to say, this is what I have to continue to have, to keep moving, to keep going forward. Yeah. That was important. So I tell people even today that I live on what they lived on. So there's a song that talks about the solid rock I stand, on other ground and sinking sand. So I'm always on that rock, like the people of Mississippi are on that rock.
You know, it's funny that the word hope and the word home almost have all the same letters.
They do.
And I think that drove a lot of people too, because this was their home.
Yes.
They were willing to fight for their home.
Yes, and that's a good thing. Yeah. And those same people that were fighting so many years ago still want to fight today.
Yeah, it's amazing. I interviewed Flonzie. I was just thinking about Flonzie. And she literally still talks to students today.
Yes.
And to tell them, okay, this is what you need to work at. And I think she still has Martin Luther King's plates
She donated those to us.
She got them. Good,
Yeah.
because she said she was thinking about doing that. It's been a long time since I've interviewed her.
Yeah, when she found out that I was going to be here,
Yeah.
and that I went to the role of director over the 2 Mississippi museums, she donated the place to
Okay.
us.
Backstory real quick. I think it was during the March?
Yes, it was doing the March of Fear.
March of Fear, yeah. And he came in at one point and stayed in Canton and stayed with her.
Yes, he knew that Mr. Meredith had been injured,
Yeah.
had been shot, and he said, we cannot not go to Mississippi and continue this march. The story is that he's on his way to Canton, and he makes this phone call to Flanzy, Miss Flanzy, and she says that she hears his voice and she knows that it's him. And he wanted to be able to eat and to rest, and for her to put those things together. And she did.
And she did.
And her mom garnered the women, they cooked, and the plates, her mother's plates, were the plates that our MLK, Mr. Martin Luther King, ate off of.
I think it's just amazing she saved them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, she knew at the moment what that moment meant.
History.
Yeah.
Her story, his story.
And that's what's so beautiful about both museums, is that those stories are there and they allow students, I pulled up and there's buses outside, right? And we'll talk about why they're here in just a minute, which I think is a really cool story too. But the fact that these students can walk through these buildings and not necessarily touch, but almost touch.
Oh, yeah.
Something like Harry Potter, the port key that takes you somewhere else.
Right.
Those little moments in history. And y'all have done such a great job telling that story.
I don't do it as much as I used to, but when you tour a group of students and you see that sparkle in the eyes of some that are interested in the history, that just takes me away. Because as a little girl, I was always interested in history. Richard Wright was somebody that at 11 years old, I fell in love with his writings. Yeah. And just this guy who lived in Jackson, who walked the streets of Jackson, and I knew those streets. I was like, this has to be awesome history.
Yeah, it's amazing when you actually, and my parents used to do that with us when we were kids. They take us to the places where these things happen. It really makes it a lot more real. Yes. Man, Richard Wright, I got to interview his cousin, and that was really neat.
Oh, yeah.
That was just super great. But like I said, there's stories like that. And, you mentioned out-of-state visitors. Do you get a lot of out-of-state visitors that come through the museum?
We do.
Isn't that amazing?
We do. It is. Again, people are interested in Mississippi. Yeah. As I say, is that it's this vast land. But there's that complicated side of Mississippi, there's that romantic side of Mississippi, and you bring those together and you have the state.
I think one of my favorite things to do is during this off session, not during session, but I'll be walking around the Capitol and I'll see tourists walking around. Mm-hmm. I'm like, come here. And I'll go take them down to the portraits of the governors and say, that was Robin Williams' great-great-grandfather. And it looks just like him. And they're like, oh, wow. And so we just have great stories like that. The day these buildings open, it snowed. Yes. I mean, my joke was that in 1965, there were 2 guys walking up Capitol Street and said, hell will freeze over if we ever have and we did.
I remember that.
Yeah. So Jackson froze over, but it was a great moment. And I think about you in this role and you getting the chance to do it. You've gotten to meet some of your heroes over the years. I have. And one of them is Merle Evers, and I think about the kind words that she said about you.
You're going to read that?
I'm going to read this out loud.
Okay.
This is your life. This is your life, Pam Junior. Her leadership reflects her commitment to Mississippi and the honest telling of our history. Yeah. That's amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah. So how does that make you feel? But how does that make you feel as somebody that's that strong and so important to Mississippi's history recognizes the job that you've been able to do, to tell our story openly and honestly?
Well, let me say this. It's been women who have mentored me, very strong women who have mentored me, and I have emulated that life that they've had and tried to live my life in such a way. For Miss Merle, as I call her, to say those words to me, she said some other things that I told someone I would never repeat because they were so beautiful and they were just for me. Yeah. But for her to say those words, that means that my work has not been in vain. Yeah. Everything that I've done, I've had this pathway that's been placed for me. I had a choice not to enter them or to go and follow. And each time an angel was brought to me, I was very hard-headed with those angels. I don't want to do it. But somewhere, that leadership, that person, that Almighty made me switch and say, okay, I'm gonna listen, because they were brought by the Most High, and I have listened to it, and everything that I've done has been that pathway that has led me to this moment of a word that I don't like to say, retirement. I like to say the next chapter that I'm turning of that book that will close one day. But right now it's wide open.
And obviously, it's probably double, triple secret. But what is the next chapter for you?
It's a lot. You know, there's some things I won't talk about, but there's a book that I need to write because my life has been amazing, from being a little dark-skinned child from West Jackson who was bullied a lot, who integration changed me, who...
Okay, back up for a second here. I am just trying to mental picture of you ever being bullied by anybody. I mean, that's awful. But I mean, it's awful to try to picture that, but I just know your personality, and I mean, number one, you're kind, but number two, I would never try that.
Yeah, but I was very, very shy as a child because of, at that particular time, people would always talk about the color of my skin. So it was those type of things. In my household, I was the little princess because I was the oldest, but there was a lot of that. So I just kind of went into my own self. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of drawing back in those days.
I am so glad you got past that.
I did. That's the good thing.
Yeah, because I mean, you could have ended up like me instead of like you, and it worked out better for you. I'm kidding.
I know you are.
I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding about that. But like I said, the fact that, you know, you think about those steps, and we did cover, I think, in the last interview a little bit about your superhero origin story, as I like to call it. But the fact is, everything along the way led to another thing. I mean, you were at the amazing Smith-Robertson Museum down there, and that led to being, you know, just opening up the Civil Rights Museum. You got tapped for that. Then there's the 2 museums on that. And so whatever you do next, everything that you've learned. And I think about that from the 2019 point when you're over both of them. So fast forward a year, and then the whole world shut down. Including, oh yeah, by the way, museums. People couldn't come here.
They could.
And that was, I mean, obviously your mission had to change on a dime.
It did. And we did. We went virtually. We went virtual, I mean. And the thing about being virtual is that you gotta be very creative. And we would do our Teams meetings, our Zoom meetings, and talk about what are we gonna do? And they would be bringing me these ideas, and I was like, think outside the box. I'm an outside the box thinker, always. So let's get out of ourselves, because we are these people who are scholars in history and da-da-da. Let's think about what a person at home would want to see. And I think we were very successful to reading books, different types of books, to doing creative programming, bringing people in to talk. It was nice.
You were still telling the story, you just had to tell it in a different way.
Exactly. And we were glad when it was over. And to come back into the office, we still did a lot of virtual. But the thing about going virtual for us was we reached so many people outside of the state of Mississippi. Groups of students in New York wanted to talk to us. California, there were businesses that wanted to hear the stories. So that made it really fun for us.
How important is it for us to tell our story, honestly?
It's very important, because if we tell the story, how amazing it is for us to learn about the different cultures. And once we learn about each other, the respect that happens. Because there's always a story. As I was telling you earlier, in the auditorium now, I think New Stage, they have this play about Anne Frank and Emmett Till, and just a difference in their cultures, but how they are actually the same. That's what's so amazing about it. So there's all these children that are down in the auditorium hearing the story, and hopefully understanding the story enough to go home and say, Mom and Dad, this is how life is. This is what's going on. Let's if there is a problem, let's bring about that change. And it's going to be the children who have to bring about the change.
And we saw that over the last 2 or 3 years, that a lot of the activism has been led by people that are just right out of high school. Almost at 28, not old people like me.
As it was in the 60s.
And just like in the 60s, that's right. So you mentioned that. How long is that going to run?
Well, the play is
Yeah.
happening now.
Well, no, I'm not. It's going to before the end of the interview, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many is it today only?
It's just today here.
Just today. Okay.
Today only
Okay.
here.
But you do have the Emmett Till exhibit.
We do have the Emmett Till exhibit. It's with the story of the mother, really,
Yeah.
letting the world see.
Yeah.
And that's important because that's what Miss Mamie did.
She had the open casket.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. Who would have done that today?
I know it.
How brave is a woman like that who says that I want the world to see my child
Yeah.
because this shouldn't happen to any other child.
That's right.
And she did it with all the pain, and she lived with the pain of losing her only child for the rest of her life. So what we've done is with the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, they have come in and said, we're going to put an exhibit together. We wanted to show in Mississippi because that's where Emmett died. And so we want it here. And it's an amazing exhibit for children. I went in with some children one Sunday and to listen to them and even to tell the story themselves, it was amazing. Amazing. They know more than we think they do.
They do. They're watching us.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. I think, you know, and this is just my humble cartoonist opinion, but I mean, I think the greatest success of the two museums is that it's an extra classroom for every school.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Of course, you know, what did our former governor say, William Winter, who passed, that these museums are the largest classrooms in the state. Yeah. And they are.
They are.
They are. They can come in because they may not get it at school, but they can come here. They can come to the two Mississippi museums and get every event that happened here. Yeah. From Mississippi history to civil rights. They get it. And then at the end of going through both museums, they get a chore. They get a lesson. They get a reason to want to march out and do the work. As I tell staff members, it's all about doing the work. If you do the work, get out of yourself and do the work. That's what the veterans of the movement did. That's what the people of Mississippi did.
And anybody who's ever dealt with therapy knows that's
yeah.
probably rule number one. Just do the work. Just do the work. But in a way, this museum is our therapy.
It is. It is. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because people need to come here so that if they have these things that are going on in their minds that are so reckless, come to the two Mississippi museums. When you walk in, you'll be away, but when you walk out, you'll totally be different.
The way the Civil Rights Museum is set up, it's almost like chambers and levels, and it takes you emotionally on a journey. By the time you get to about the 8th room, you're just like, oh, okay, I get it, I understand.
Yes, you need to take a lunch break.
Yeah.
You need to take a break.
You need to breathe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tell people what I did when I first walked through by myself. I had to sit, and this at this particular time, I was with the Civil Rights Museum, the director. I had to just sit in Gallery 3, and I thought about the show A Different World, where Debbie Allen tells Whitley to relax, relate, release. Relax, relate, release. And I had to relax myself. I had to relate to the people. Then I had to release the anger because I knew that there was work to be done. So then I become this agent of change. Then I really become the servant leader that has to help people throughout the state of Mississippi to understand all the stories and then bring about their change for themselves.
You know, just picturing that shy little girl in West Jackson who figured out very quickly how to tell stories and how to write, but then you started gravitating toward telling other people's stories.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, this has been a dream job for you.
It has.
And it's been a challenge because I know, like you said, with the pandemic, you've had a lot of, but it's been a lot of blessings. I mean, and I remember when they were building this, everybody's like, oh, well, will people show up? Will the numbers be great? The numbers that have come through in the last few years has just been nothing but stunning.
The pandemic kind of pushed us back a little bit, but that's okay.
I think it pushed everybody back.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But, you know, let me say this about being the storyteller.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a storyteller. I used to listen to him tell stories, and today is his birthday. If he was still alive.
Yeah, how old would he have been?
And he would have been 100 and something. He was born in 1913.
Okay.
So a lot of my strength comes from those ancestor women, but my grandfather, that strong guy who only had a second grade education, taught me so much.
What's your favorite story from your time here?
Oh, wow. There's so many, but the story that really I think about is that the one that we had all these journalists from all these different countries, and they came in and they wanted to know about the jingles that I have here. Why do you wear these bracelets? And as I told them the story, I could see their eyes watching my hands move, because I do use my hands, arms and hands a lot. But these are my ancestors.
Wow.
And the jingling that you hear is a reminder of me, to me, of what they went through. Yeah. Because I hear the shackles and the chains. And I'll never forget that moment when that journalist asked me, and it was probably about 30 or 40 of them here, and they kept asking, why do you wear them? Why is that jingle so important to you? That moment, for me, meant for me that I was seen, that I was heard, and that was taken all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've won a lot of honors, and you probably view honors the same way I do. I mean, if somebody's nice enough to give me something, I say thank you, and it means the world to me. But to me, the work that led up to the honors is what matters. But that said, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What I know, I'm good at that. That's
you are.
It's kind of like 60 Minutes with not at all, actually, come to think of all the things that over the years when somebody has said, good job, what's the one that makes you most proud? I mean, I think we probably touched on his Evers, but.
John Lewis.
That's right. You escorted him through the museum, didn't you? That had to be an incredible moment.
John Lewis.
Yeah.
That was such an incredible moment for me to walk with him, for him to see his friends on the walls. Yeah. And then to finish and tell me, good job, Pam. Good job. You've done an amazing job. There's several people that have said that his stands out, and the other is a young lady who's passed on, and she passed on during the pandemic. Yeah. And she did the first talk show as a Black woman from Mississippi Public Broadcast. Yeah. Her name is Mrs. Ruth Campbell.
That's right. I remember.
And Faces was the show. And she was really sick but she was able to walk through the museum. Her voice is in the Civil Rights Museum. I did that on purpose. Yeah. But she was my mentor of mentors. And I get emotional because she got me to this point. Yeah. And she passed on in 2020. But it was her who told me, I'm tired of you playing. There's a job that's going to be opening at Smith Robertson Museum and Cultural Center, and I want you to apply for that job. Wow. And I applied, and I said, I won't be ready. Study, research, and be ready.
So she was one of those angels.
Yes.
Did you ever check her back for wings?
They were there all the time.
Yeah.
And when I walked into that interview, Dr. Jessie B. Mosley, the founder of Smith Robertson, was there. And when the interview finished, she held her hands up and said, hire her right now. Wow. That pathway, the angel that led me to that. And I give all that honor.
It wasn't just that she told you about the job, it was that she literally challenged you.
She did. And she walked with me.
When you're working with your employees here, do you challenge them?
Always. Yeah. Always. They get upset with me.
No.
They get upset with me, but I got upset with Mrs. Campbell.
Yeah.
But it was only to make them grow. And a lot of them that started with me, that inaugural group, they're gone to better jobs, and we talk. And I tell them, now you're my friend, okay? Because now we can talk. We can really talk. But I was there for them, and I want them still to call me now, because I will always be there for anybody who needs help. Because as that young girl from Lynch Street, she needed that help too, and I got it.
I'm thinking about, I remember a friend of mine did a very good job catching oral histories of World War II pilots. That was a thing. He was a pilot himself. He had a World War II aircraft. He was a big thing. And I said, well, why the urgency? He said, well, look at the calendar. The civil rights generation is starting to fade into history too. Yes. How important, because I know y'all have done a lot of work getting oral histories and doing that, but also too, to keep that story alive.
It's amazing because some of them are forgetting some of the stories. And our job will always be to invite them into this house so that they can feel the strength that they had as young folks, and they understand that it's still there, the fight is still there. And we will continue as long as they can. The stories will be here. They'll be written on the walls forever, forever.
You know, it's amazing what an impact it makes. I was interviewing the Bacon brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever play 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, just mention my name. You can win, because I've interviewed Kevin Bacon. It was pretty cool. When they stepped out of the hotel, they saw the marker for the Greyhound station across the street. That's now the architectural office. And they wrote a song about it.
Oh, wow.
It meant that much to them.
Wow.
Our story means so much to the world, and sometimes we don't even realize it.
We don't.
I don't think.
We don't.
Yeah.
But the grand thing about me being here
Yeah.
was that sometimes I walk through the museums and people are talking, and I'm listening to them say, "This is amazing. Wow."
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell them who I am. They want to take a photograph.
Yeah.
But I just like to listen to people just talk about how great these museums are.
Yeah. And they really are. I mean, I'm a fan, and I'm not in the business of saying nice things, just to let that just to make that clear. But no, they really. I mean, like I said, I mean, to know that Haley Barber's part of it, and just how this came to be, I thought was truly a moment. It's kind of like, before we wrap up, and we're starting to run low on time. I hate that, because I could talk to you for 6 hours. Just looking back over the memories and the people, and is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh, it's so many. Let me just say this. Of course, I can never stop thanking Mrs. Campbell, but my grandparents who raised me, and they gave me that fortitude and strength. My mom, who's behind me and so proud of me, and my sons. Oh my goodness. When I applied for this job, they were like, "Girl, you got it."
Really?
And I was like, "No, I may not." "You have it." And when I called them after I received the call, they were like, "Didn't we tell you?" So I just, everything that I do is for them. And my oldest told me, "You don't have to be an example anymore. We see it. We got it." But that part is going to be hard, because I've always did that, to work my life, to live my life in honor of them too, so that they could see what hard work is all about, and passion. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I mean, like when I first started drawing cartoons here, I drew cartoons because I was a cartoonist. And then when I had kids, I did it because I cared about the state and wanted to be better. And I think you probably feel that way too.
Oh yeah, definitely. My oldest lives in Atlanta, but it's okay, because he still sees me. And he reminds people that she's my mom. Okay, she's my mom, not yours. She's my mom. She belongs to us.
And I will say this, because I make the Atlanta trip a lot too. There's no road construction going on in Alabama right now. I don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do.
I just don't know how to handle it on that. Any final thoughts? Anything I have not asked you? Because I'd like to say we've had this conversation before. We're having it again. But I mean, I just really thank you for taking the time today to talk and a little bit. And like I said, your last day is the last official day of the state year.
Will be June 30th.
Yeah.
But just that, I love Mississippi.
Yeah.
Mississippi has been good to me with all its complexities. It's amazing. And for me to say that I love Mississippi, I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. This has been an amazing ride to be the director of the largest museums in the entire state of Mississippi, and to be able to help people and to hear the stories, to hear the pain. It's been awesome. I will say this, and you didn't touch on this interview, you did on the last one, but the moment when you got to help retire the state flag. Oh my God. Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Powerful moment. Knees were weak. Yeah. But those ancestors told this little girl to stand up straight and hold that flag. And I did, because I was representing so many people. And it's now in this museum? It's now in this museum. Wow. But soon you won't be. I won't be. But you got to come back to visit? I will. Will they give you a discount? You get a discount? I'll keep a membership, okay? I will keep giving to the museum. So there you go. You just opened a door, so you can get a membership. Yes. Yeah, that's important. It's very important. People get a membership. Yeah, that's one way to support the museums. And I'm going to look into the camera. Yeah, please get a membership to the 2 Mississippi museums. Have your children, have your folks come here. If you've never been, please come. Bring your children. Learn about the history of Mississippi, you'll be better for it.
I don't think I could have done that any better. That's good. It's almost like you've done that pitch before. What's the website?
Ask me that question again,
What's the website?
because I don't know.
That's fine. Google 2 museums. It'll pop right up.
www.2 Museums. It's something like that. You
Yeah.
caught me off guard, but it's a funny ending to
No. Just Google it. You'll find it. Because otherwise, you never know what you might end up going to. Got to be careful about that. So.
That's true.
This has been fun.
It has been, and I'm glad that you made me laugh in the end. Okay, with that question.
Well, I mean,
so
we were
thank
pretty
you so
serious
much.
the whole time. And
We
everything
were.
on that.
You knew what I needed.
Now I got to tell you a quick story about William Winter, right?
Okay.
So I'm doing a book signing. I'm in the Winter building, right? Guess who's sitting next to me? William Winter. So I'm sitting in the Winter building next to William Winter in front of a picture of William Winter.
Wow.
Yeah. And was like, okay. Everybody was coming to talk to him. How could I compete?
Right.
You know, I'm like literally in his own building. But I mean, he was amazing. And he was telling me stories about like how they nearly tore down the old Capitol Museum and, you know, it was how they used it as a hay barn and how broke they were. And it was just like, oh my gosh, can I record all this? It's incredible. As like I said, that's the thing about the museums. You can literally walk through any part of it and find a story like that.
Always.
So, okay, it's incredible.
And let me say this.
Yes.
Anywhere you walk in the state of Mississippi, there's a story.
It really is.
There's a story everywhere you walk.
Yeah, I once asked Mac McAnally, the great singer-songwriter from Belmont, who sings with Jimmy Buffett, has won the CMA award, just great guy. What is it about us? Do we have just great stories or great storytellers? And he said both.
Both.
And I thought that's a politician answer, but it's right on. It's
It
right.
is.
We do. And thank you for being a great storyteller.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk to you.
Yeah,
It's
you're my
fun.
friend, and I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. That means the world.
Yes.
All right, so you can catch other great episodes like this one if you just go to MississippiToday.org, or you can sign up for my weekly newsletter and you get it every Sunday in your email box too. That'll be great too. Hey, thank you. We'll be back next time with another great Mississippi story right here on Mississippi Stories. Thank you for watching this episode of Mississippi Stories. Make sure to subscribe to the Mississippi Today YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified every time a new video uploads.